G'day guys, and welcome to my Season 2 PvP Best in Slot Guide for Rogues. I've gone ahead and done a lot of research and put this list together in the absence of any of the sort of top rogues making a list of their own and releasing it just yet. When it comes to Season 2, there's a lot of core set items that are undoubtedly the best, and what it really comes down to is your off-piece choices, your rings, and your personal preferences, and the arena comp that you're playing is where we'll sort of see the variance in the set lists. Now, in saying that, this is my list, is not the definitive BIS guide. Obviously, a lot of people like to follow the top rogues like Mir and Snuts. So in the absence of their lists, I thought I'd get this one out there so we can get the conversation rolling. So I'm more than happy for there to be a lot of discussion about this in the comment section. If you think I've missed something that's glaringly obvious and I've omitted it from the list, please let me know and I'll address it, or we can have a discussion about why it's not in the list. But with that out the way, let's get started on showing you the list. So as I was saying, for PvP Season 2, there's a real core set of items that you'll want to get that don't have any clear alternative and that are basically mandatory. The first one being the Deathblow X11 Goggles. These goggles are amazing. No longer do we sort of have to be sacrificing stealth detection with the great stats of a meta gem slocket and an extra slocket. With the Deathblow X11, we get everything that we wanted. We get the stealth detection, we get the meta, and we get all these amazing stats of PvP. You can get these day one once the patch drops. You just train it at the engineering trainer, get all these items that I'll put up on the screen now, and you can make them. Do a heroic, get your nether, and just make these. If you're not engineering, make sure you're engineering. These are by far the best in almost a PvP environment and a PvE environment. Now, the other core set of items that you'll want to get is your Season 2 PvP main pieces. You'll be running, obviously, the 4 set. And since we're running the goggles this season, you'll need to be replacing your skulkers if that's what you're using, or whatever you're using. Maybe you're using assassination, you'll want to replace these. So purchase order, again, will be dependent on what you're using. Currently, you might have a bit of a mix of Season 1 gear, skulkers, and some Season 2 gear. So generally, the order would be chest, shoulders, legs, and then gloves. But you obviously might have a mix. So make the judgment. Maybe you're not going to get into 2K anytime soon, and you already have the chest. Maybe go legs first. If you don't have gloves yet, gloves are priority. But again, make that decision for yourself based on what you have and what direction you want to be heading. Have a clear idea of your gear progression and make a decision accordingly. Now, as far as weapons, Rod of the Sun King is looking like best in slot. I would say it's probably core, but in saying that, we'll have to wait to see what the procs per minute are. We obviously have a lot of historical data. We have private server stuff, but again, all incredibly unreliable as far as what the game is turning out to be now. So again, we'll have to wait and see. People are saying 1 proc per minute in a PvE environment, so I'm saying up to 3. So if it's only 1 proc per minute in a PvE environment, in a PvP environment, we may not have that kind of perfect uptime, so the proc might even be less than that. So again, watch this space as far as the weapon, but because of its incredibly high low end damage and its incredibly high top end damage, this is looking like best in slot. Next sort of core items that don't have any sort of clear alternative are your new rings. You will be replacing Garona and Violet Signet, or Garona and 1000 Marks, whatever you're using, with these 2 new rings. They're both upgrades, so do yourself a favor and get both of these. Obviously, the trinket is core. We don't get the upgraded epic version until, I believe, Sunwell. So we'll obviously be using that. And sadly, we're still using the same trinkets that we were using in Phase 1 in Season 1. Because of the way rogues play, you want that on-demand damage. You want to use your trinket and have all the damage available to you. You don't want to be relying on a proc trinket. Ever, really. Not just Phase 2. For most of the entire game, you would be wanting to use on-use AP trinkets. So that's why figurine is best if you're a jewel crafter still. And if you're not a jewel crafter, you're obviously using Bloodless Brooch. It can be tempting to use your new Warp Spring Coil because it's got heaps of armor penetration, which is great. But again, it just doesn't proc reliably. when you're playing Rogue Mage and you've got that burst window, you want to use your APB trinket and have all that damage available to you straight away. Next item, and these sort of next couple of items are all based on personal preference and how you would like to gear out your character. If you like to use a little bit more resilience or you'd like to use a little bit more damage, make an informed decision based on that and what comp you plan on playing. If you're running double DPS, you probably want more damage. And if you're running healer DPS, you might want to run a little bit more resilience for those longer games. Now, I believe out with Choker of Violent Intent and in with Telonicus, this drops off Kael'thas. So there might be a bit of competition with this one, as you know, everybody will be wanting this item. More agility, more stamina. We're losing a bit of hit rating, but we're getting a lot of attack power. Same goes for the back. We're replacing Drape of the Dark Reavers, and we're now going with the Thalassian Wilder Cloak. Has more agility, more stamina, and double the amount of attack power. PvP braces, I think for this set, which is a bit of a balance between everything, braces are a really, really good option. If you didn't want to run the PvP braces, you run Van Braces of Ending, which are more agility, slightly less stamina, again a socket, but also heaps more attack power. And the other one is Belt of the Deep Shadow. You might want to be running NG Belt, or you'd want to run PvP Belt, that's fine. Again, this is personal preference in the belt and the boots section, but I think these are a really nice, easy item to get. They're a BOE crafted item from Leatherworkers, and the pattern drops from both of the new raids, so Serpentine Cavern and the Eye. So I'm sure someone on your server will be getting the drop nice and early, and you can pay probably quite a hefty fee to get them, but they're super nice. Heaps of attack power, heaps of agility, 2 sockets and hit rating. The other one, which has a little bit of wiggle room, will be boots. Now, before we were using Master's Treads for the stealth detection, hit rating, attack power, had super nice stats for an item that you could just buy off the auction house. If you find you're still getting caught out in stealth a lot, even though you've got the Deathblow X11 Goggles, by all means put Master's Treads back on. But from what I'm thinking right now, which might change as the season goes on when I'm doing more and more games with these goggles, I think you can probably trade up and get a little bit more resilience. I say a little bit more resilience, 30 more resilience, more stats, more agility, more stamina by swapping out Master's Treads. But again, that's your personal preference. Throwing weapon. This is a trash drop from Serpentine Cavern. I'm only using it because I'd like the hit rating. Now for hit rating in PvP, you want to be above 5%. Anything above 5% is not wasted. In saying that, obviously the more hit chance you have, the more chance you proc your poisons, which is super nice. But I would say personal preference again, but as long as you're at 5%, you're all good. So you could be using Xavian Stiletto, Needle Shrike, anything with hit rating, I think, in it is a really solid option. And obviously, as long as it's a throwing weapon. Offhands, the new offhand, PvP offhand will be BIS. But in saying that, you can be using the Badge of Justice dagger as well. I think what seems to be meta at the moment is putting a steel weapon chain on your wound offhand. So maybe once you pick this one up, make it your wound offhand and put a steel weapon chain on it if you don't have one just yet. But this is sort of the list that I'll be running with for now. I'm happy for this to be a bit of a work in progress as new data becomes available. But as far as BIS list for now, without any further testing or information, I think this is a really, really strong starting point, and it's a great balance between PvE and increasing the amount of resilience we have. You know, close to 240 resilience, 7% hit, and heaps of PvE off pieces for that great jump in attack power. Now, a good little bit of new information. I was in Mia's chat and someone asked the question, should we be gemming agility or attack power for season 2? And he made an interesting comment. If you're running double DPS, you probably want to be running attack power. And if you're running healer or healer DPS, so rogue disc, rogue druid, anything like that, it'd be good to be running maybe agility for next season for the increase in amount of dodge rating. So that's a little bit of new information. Take it as you will. I don't know what I'm going to do just yet. I think I'll probably still run attack power because I mix around with comps a fair bit. But that's the list for now. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. If you think I've missed anything, do let me know. We can chat about it in the comment section. Again, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.